So now that we've set up Worthington's Law, the most important law you need to know, children, for today's episode, let's watch conservatives try to justify Worthington's Law. And that's what we're going to do today. Are you ready? You ready to dive in?
I've got my seatbelt on here for this one. I think it's going to be a bumpy ride.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be fun. So we're going to start with Dave Ramsey. We're going to go through him a couple times because he's a big proponent of Worthington's Law. He just doesn't know it.
Conservatives and Christians, as three different groups, but also intermingled groups, give more by category than anyone else in the world to the poor. So why would you give to the poor if you think they're lazy and shiftless like that?
Oh, real quick. He's talking about Christians tend to give more in charity. What he skips over is a lot of that's not for charity. It's for proselytizing. So, and they have tax advantages that other groups don't.
I was going to say there's also an element of, I'm going to assume, which I shouldn't, but privilege there to be able to be giving to charity, because frequently, although he's not listing the kinds of charities, frequently giving to charity is something people do as a part of their tax planning process. And there's nothing wrong with that. You could do a lot of good and help your taxes. That's great. No judgment out of me. But it's, I feel like he's attacking this from like a morality standpoint. Like, look, everybody's so moral because they're giving all this money to charity, when the fact of the matter is some people are probably doing it because it's the right thing to do, and some people are probably like, oh, I need to get rid of this amount of money to make my charitable contributions as per the plan I came up with my tax advisor,
Well, no, I'm talking about more of just there's a tradition behind it in Christianity. It's, millennia old, right? Which is you go to church and, every week you give 5, 10, 20, $100, whatever, right? Some people pay a tithe, which means they part of their income. Right. Are you really giving that to the poor? Or are you giving it to the church? Or are you giving it just out of habit? Right. So this is not about I'm doing this because I want to help the poor so much as this is just a habitual sort of thing. This is cultural.
But also, is he really able to say that this amount of people in these certain categories are giving money to the poor just because they're giving it to charity? Because I give to charities that have nothing to do with the poor. Sometimes they do, but I like charities that have to do with art and arts organizations. And I mean, you might argue that those are like nonprofits that don't have a lot of money, but it's not giving to the poor. You know what I'm saying? It's not like
civil rights, health services.
Yeah, I mean, lots of them, and they're all wonderful programs, but just because they're giving to charity does not mean they're giving to the poor either.
Right. Well, and I've done like the atheists with the homeless stuff, right? And the difference is we don't hold their sandwich hostage to make them listen to a sermon. We just give them the food. It's a little bit different, right? And the other point of it is there's no expectation because of I'm part of this group or this in-group that I'm supposed to be giving some of this money just to be a member. So some of this is more of just country club kind of mentality versus are we actually doing this for the sake of charity? So I think he's conflating things that you really can't conflate. I'm sure some people do. I'm not knocking it, but I'm just saying it doesn't necessarily mean that was the goal.
There's some sort of broad sweeping generalizations he's making that may apply to some, but don't necessarily apply to everybody in even these categories he's discussing.
Right. All right. So he's going to get into some examples here. So let's see.
You wouldn't. You're trying to help them because we that are in that category or in some of those categories understand some things. So you just can't believe the liberal Washington Post when they're trying to say that white evangelicals that elected Trump.
What was that? Say it again.
Oh, we understand some things.
I'm
sorry. That setup just implies clearly nobody else could understand some things.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
We all agree.
Educate the
or
rest of
primarily
us that are too stupid to understand.
I know.
Okay.
All right.
politically conservative, or greedy, two-faced, and their motives can't be trusted. That's the essence of this. It's hating. It's intolerance on the part of the left. So instead of dividing the country,
I love it. I'm the victim. You're being intolerant of me because you say I don't care about the poor. And yet at no point has he bothered to say, no, I actually do. I actually think there are problems. He's not offering solutions or anything. It's just, no, you're being mean to me by saying I don't care.
And actually, nobody even said that you didn't care about the poor. Like, that's not.
I know, nobody said he was racist. He brought that up. Nobody said he was sexist.
Right.
He brought that up. It certainly wasn't in the Washington Post article. So this is all his own psychology biting him in the ass.
between liberal and conservative, or black or white, or Christian and non-Christian, why don't we just talk about the real problem, which is poor people? How can we help them?
I want to clarify that. The
Poor
real
people are the problem?
poor people are not poverty, poor people.
Oh, boy. Okay.
That seems like a Freudian slip to me. Let's see where he goes.
To be there for real.
Fine.
Well, let me just tell you, it is not just lack of effort. It's also circumstances they're born into. And it's also oppression from the outside, holding them there. It's all three things, and it's all three things in different ratios, depending on the situation.
Well, bravo. Bravo. It is. Circumstances, oppression. Some of it is probably personal choice. But which are the bigger issues? And circumstance and oppression are the same thing. Oppression is a circumstance. So,
sure, but I mean, I don't mind talking about them separately. I can understand.
Well, yeah, my one is
I mean, they're related, but
one is a subsection of the other.
sure.
Yeah, that would be my point.
Let me give you a couple situationals, and we'll look at the ratios for a second, okay? Let's take a person who is in Haiti, been through an earthquake, has a corrupt government, poverty like no other on the planet, hardly. Haiti. So, are they poor because of a lack of effort? You have to universally say no. Their poverty is not caused by a lack of effort. The island's a pile of rocks to start with. It's almost impossible to grow something there. Drilling a well is a major undertaking. The banana republics that have been in and out of there, the corrupt governments, are just ridiculous. And a lot of the charity money that goes down there just goes down a black hole, sadly. So those people are not poor because they're unwilling to work. That is an absurd statement. It's circumstances, by and large. And oppression, secondly, and lack of effort, third, but to a much lesser degree, lack of effort. Would everybody agree with that? Say yes. I mean, so to my conservative friends who say lack of effort is why someone's poor, you can hold the Haiti example up and go, well, you're wrong. It's not the only.
Well, but we got to pick another country, and we got to pick.
Okay, I just have to say this. I'm veering off a little bit, but to call Haiti just a pile of rocks makes me crazy.
Oh God, yeah.
I happen to have a friend who is from Haiti and goes there several times a year because she still has family in Haiti. And do you know what she was doing in Haiti with her family members? Running a big, beautiful, plant-filled agricultural place. Like, agriculture. She was managing a very, very large, I hesitate to call it a farm because it would be like a farm on steroids, but essentially, so certainly not a pile of rocks. And I've been on Zoom calls with her all while, and I didn't see piles of rocks in her background. I'm just saying.
Well, I remember
so
covering
that's another huge generalization that makes me crazy.
I remember covering Haiti in political science, and so the first country to completely ban slavery. I mean, slavery is still legal in the U.S. We don't talk about that, but it still is under the 14th Amendment. As long as you've been convicted of a crime, we can enslave you, according to the Constitution. That's true. The only country the first country at least, that completely banned slavery was Haiti. Now, there were a lot of Middle Eastern imams or sheikhs, right, that had banned slavery in different forms. There were some Christian kings that had done that here and there. But the only country to first do it was Haiti. Why? Because Haiti was overtaken by the slaves, which is why Haiti is a predominantly black country. Right? And ever since then, the United States and a lot of the European countries that surrounded that at the time were not thrilled about that because it set a bad precedent that the slaves could overthrow the masters, right? So we have pretty much since the inception of Haiti, since their revolution, we have pretty much dicked with that country, and we put in all kinds of dictators that killed lots of people. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the Clintons completely, but the bottom line is, yeah, they put in dictators there that worked with them. Was it the Chevaliers? Killed thousands, maybe tens or hundreds of thousands of people to keep their dictatorship. No, it's been outside interference that's fucked with Haiti from larger governments who didn't want them to establish themselves as a socialism or as a slave-free country. So when you sit there and go, well, yeah, it's circumstances, blah, 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 and the banana republics, it's like, yeah, but you're missing the entire history of what freaking happened. So,
right. He's making sweeping generalizations without any of the background, any of the reality actually really laced into it. Yeah.
Right. But it's also a great example for him because he can go, but see, that's Haiti. It's not the United States. In the United States, none of that's going on. So in the United States, if you're poor, it's not because you live in Haiti. So it's not circumstantial. And I'll bet you $20 that's where he goes.
Oh, boy.
All right, I got to pause for 1 sec here.
People are poor. In that situation, it illustrates the circumstances sometimes. Another example is I've got a friend of mine in college. He got a master's degree in accounting, and then he took up drinking, ended up homeless. Now, he grew up white middle class like me. Went to the same school I went to, University of Tennessee. Got a white middle class all degree.
I'm going to knock that. He's going to go, that's a personal choice, right?
I imagine that's what he'll say.
Yeah, I mean...
I think about a buddy of mine, a good friend of mine. I was talking to him the other day. We had a long discussion about this. It was kind of fun. Before this article came out, oddly enough, black guy, African-American guy, whatever you want to call him. He calls himself black, so I'll call him black. That's okay. I'm not all worried about these labels you people all get twisted up about. But he's a good friend of mine. He grew up in the hood. And he told me, coming out of the hood in America, in North America, as a black guy, he said, it's easier to get out of the hood than it is to get the hood out of you. Ooh.
See, that one bothers me, but... So, I know we skimmed through those last two real quick, but an alcoholic, 7% of people are going to have addiction problems, just statistically, anywhere you go in the world. You can't sit there and go, that's entirely on that person, or they made bad choices. Nobody wakes up and says, you know what, I want to be an alcoholic or a drug addict. Nobody freaking says that. The problem is what were the resources that were available to the guy to deal with that? And did they want to deal with that? Is that something that could have been dealt with? What that tells me is we should be throwing more money at helping people out of that circumstance. Not that we should be blaming the guy. The black guy, I got out of the hood, which is not at all derogatory, right, in any way. Well, but what are the circumstances of that? And if that were all a matter of personal choice, then wouldn't everybody get out of the hood? Because he's going to go and say the guy came on and became successful and wealthy, but it's like that would be the case. If the case were, it was just a matter of personal choice, this would be easy, but it's not, and that's the problem.
There's so much that's systemic that has to do with that getting out of the hood sort of situation. I live in New York City, and I think about the projects, and that is way less expensive housing than what you can get elsewhere in New York City.
Well,
and so getting out of a situation, if your rent potentially is about to double, or who knows,
Mhm.
depending on where you're trying to go to. But I don't know, if you suddenly tell me that my housing payment is about to double, I think I'm probably staying put where I am.
Well, and if you grow up in a situation where you don't get a lot of education, or it's difficult to finish high school, you have to work full time to take care of your family while you're a kid. What opportunities are there
Right.
going forward? This kid obviously was in a circumstance that allowed him to become a successful adult. But what about everybody else he grew up with? They might not have had that opportunity, right? That's the thing he's missing. So to sit there and go, well, yeah, there's a personal choice factor here. It's like there is, but only if you're lucky enough to have the circumstances aligned that you have a choice.
Or some sort of like the resources presented to you in some way.
And that's what he misses about the Haiti example. Those people don't have the opportunity. But
And
you can't.
frequently the resources are hard to come by too.
Yeah, and you can't say that about, okay, well, in the United States, well, everybody has the opportunity, because that's not the case. So he spent this whole time saying, well, no, they're being dicks, saying that we all think that poverty is about people being lazy or making whatever, right? And then he turns around and says, yeah, but it kind of is. And it didn't take him that long to get there. I mean, we're skimming through this, and I'll skim through this last little bit real quick, and then we'll move on to the next thing. But this is kind of what the thing is. I think is so amazing. Is it comes back to Worthington's Law every time.
Truthfully, in America, in North America, you got a better shot than anywhere else. So this idea that the government should take over because other people don't love the poor is ludicrous. And it's sometimes loving someone to say, hey, you're making decisions that are keeping you poor. You're taking actions or lack of action that's keeping you poor. And sometimes it's helping them get the hood out of them, as my friend who came from the hood said. So,
Helping them get the hood out of them.
But he's not racist. There's nothing racist there.
I can't even.
And then the thing about poverty too is statistically it affects Black people, Hispanic people, Pacific Islanders more than any other groups. And a lot of that has to do with systemic racism, systemic problems. And there are a lot of poor rural white people that can't get an edge. And is it because, at his point, well, in America, you should be able to, right? Or is it because you're in a horrible circumstance and we need to analyze the circumstance and talk about how do we fix it? And it might not be something you personally are doing wrong. It might be something wrong with the system that you need to start working against that's causing these problems. I mean, maybe we should, and I'm going to disagree with him on the government thing. Is like, our government's a democracy. I mean, it's a republic, but it's a democratic republic. And the whole point is the government's supposed to be working for us. And what is the government? It is a collection of representatives that we send to represent us. And we need to be putting pressure on them all the time to protect our interests.
I don't know. I think it might be in our best interest to have people across the board be in a little bit better situations. It's definitely better for me if other people's lives are better too.
Oh yeah, no, high tide raises all boats. Absolutely.